Happy Monday, everybody. It's another episode of the Monday Motivation Podcast with Keegan Jewell, and this week I'm super pumped. I was at a conference that you're going to hear a little bit about this last week, and let me tell you guys, this is why I'm doing this recap. This is probably one of those first times that I've gone to something that it is days later, and anytime I see a video or a picture or anything from the conference, I still get chills. I still get tears from what God did, and I just had to share that with you. So let's get into it. Monday Motivation Podcast with Keegan Jewell, where we are coming together to reach our full potential one Monday at a time. It's me again, everybody. Keegan Jewell with the Monday Motivation Podcast with Keegan Jewell. Guys, this last week I was just down in Tulsa, Oklahoma for the Transformation Church conference called Version 1, and all I can say is wow. I was going in expecting a lot. I really was, but I don't think anything could have prepared me for what happened at this conference, what God did at this conference, and what I know He's going to do at the conference. If you follow my personal Instagram account, you've been able to see videos that I've posted of just the conference and the church posted themselves of what God did. And probably my biggest highlight that I'll share from the conference before I get into really a recap of it was Wednesday night 2 of the conference. Scheduled, there's supposed to be a scheduled service with worship and with a speaker. But Pastor Mike Todd came up and he wanted again to just give a little bit of generosity away like they had been doing that week. And so what it was there was a single mom, her son was 9, and this wasn't the first time something like this had happened this week. There's other generous things like this given. This was the most powerful one because of what happened after, but they gave her the opportunity. They said for the next year, not only is her house loan paid off, but her car loan is going to be being paid through just everyone that came to the conference and the church itself. But they also decided they were going to give her son and herself a trip to Disneyland, just for God's way of saying thank you for everything she's done, volunteering for the church and being a single mom and trying to make ends meet. And let me say, what happened next, I don't think anyone was ready for. We started cheering, started worshiping. Pastor Mike's up there saying, worship and praise like this just happened to you. And it started something, guys. Let me tell you, for the next 5 minutes, he would go to share and just move on from the moment. And he wouldn't be able to because of everybody just still cheering and worshiping. The worship team came back out. And he just said, if there's no music tomorrow, how are y'all going to worship? And no music, people just screaming, hollering, worshiping for the next 5 minutes. It says if there's no LED screens, LED lights, no lights in general, how are y'all going to worship? They turned off all the lights, and let me tell you, there's nothing more powerful than a stadium, an event center full of thousands of people, no lights, no worship, hollering, worshiping, screaming, just whatever their heart is, just calling out, crying out for the next 5-10 minutes straight of just that. And that just kickstarted something because, let me tell you, the next thing is they just had a worship song. They were like, all right, you could tell it was going to be let's go into worship, and then we'll move on and go with the speaker. And Pastor Mike after that just goes, and you could tell the energy and the spirit was still moving, and he goes, y'all, he straight up was up there, he goes, y'all aren't going to make this a worship night. Like, we got programming we got to do. And the spirit took over, guys, and let me tell you, for the next, I believe it was close to an hour at least, it turned into a worship service, whether it was worship songs or whether it was just worship being played, music being played, and people singing out their own heart, and the Spirit was moving, and the Spirit was felt, the Spirit was thick, the Spirit was heavy, and he said it best, felt like something just broke through, and just the Spirit was pouring down like rain. I told my mom that I I had on a white shirt, and when you're wearing white, and even when it just starts getting wet with sweat, like you can go and you feel that wetness, but you can look down and you can see the wetness because you're able to see it's moisture on the shirt, so it's starting to go through and you're starting to be able to see through the shirt. And I felt my shirt and it was just drenched. And I was like, dang, like I didn't realize it was so hot in here. But I started looking at my shirt and it wasn't drenched from sweat or anything. It was just drenched from the Holy Spirit. You could tell, just drenched with the Holy Spirit. There wasn't anything no other explanation other than it was just drenched with the Holy Spirit and the presence of the Holy Spirit. And let me tell you, this is something, probably the easiest, the best way to describe it of what just happened. But like I said, that was my highlight. But man, God did amazing things. Best way it was put, what just happened, and it was even said, history was made at that night. Version 1 conference, history was made. Just a little recap from the conference itself. That happened Wednesday night. Tuesday at the conference, Pastor Mike got up for the first session and talked about he just talked about it. He said, look for blessings in the basic. Had everyone say, I'm basic. What I want everyone right now listening to do, wherever you're at, I don't even care for your work. Just sit there. Take a moment, just sit there and say, I'm basic. Like, be proud about it too. I'm basic. If you guys know me, I'm basic. But he was just talking about, he used the story of David and Goliath. Just talked about David is doing basic things, but you know what? Through the basic, God's going to use blessings. He's going to create blessings by doing the basic things. And Wednesday afternoon, we had a great, and just small little thing of having a panel of Letitia Wright, Governor of Oklahoma, Toby Nwigwe, Sadie Robertson, Toby's wife, Fat, and Pastor Mike. They were just talking about setting example and making impact on culture where you're at. And yeah, it was just awesome hearing their stories. Sadie is obviously have a great story where she's come from. Toby and his wife, just on how they're able to go on tour and involve their family, do it a different way than the culture's doing it. Governor of Oklahoma, hearing his story. But Letitia Wright, knowing her from playing Shuri from Black Panther, hearing her story was wow. Mad respect for her after hearing that story. It is amazing. But the one real message session talked about that I really want to hit on today was creative pastor Charles Metcalf. Talked about submission. I know it's not a fun word to talk about, but oh man, probably the best way he put it. He was talking about just in regards to submission, starting it off with the conference title was version 1. Talking about don't compare your version to someone else's like version 20, version 10, even version 2. But focus on your version 1. Let God move you from version 1 and don't be the same person in your version 1 than you are in later versions of yourself. And with that, he talked about to move from version 1 and onto your next version, there has to be revisions. And he put it this way, to go from revision to version, you've got to take out the I. I'm going to say that again. To go from revision to version, you've got to take out the I. And he was talking about you got to be willing to trust the process and be willing to make revisions in life. And he talked about being submissive to God mainly. But after he talked about submit your potential, submit your personality, submit your plan, submit your preference, and the last one was submit your power. But what I really want to focus on for this is after his talk, I had him, Pastor Mike, and then they had the one who started the church. Everyone calls him Bishop, and then another great leader that Pastor Mike serves under, Pastor Tim. They had him come up, and they had all them coming up, and they're just talking about being submissive not only to a leader in leadership above you, but being submissive as a leader to those under you. And something I love is just hearing those stories, and then just making it very practical, very, very practical. And I love what Charles said. He said when he hears something, Pastor Mike and him are talking, and they have the same idea of, yes, this is what we need to do, this is where we need to go, but how they get there may be different. And he goes, Charles even said, he goes, there's times I'm sitting there and I'm going, man, that's not the way I do it. Like, I want to speak up and say, man, like, Pastor Mike, why don't we do it this way? This way would be so much better. But he realized who he's trusting. Is he trusting Pastor Mike, or is he trusting God and his plan who is in Pastor Mike? And I think that can be big of just even in our daily lives as we're at our workplaces, as we're out and just working under these bosses or these people that we may not fully agree with them. We may not fully agree what they're about, but you know what? There comes a point in time where we say, am I going to trust and submit just to them as a leader? Or am I going to trust God and submit to God? And with that comes submitting to the person that God has placed over your life. I think that's very powerful when we're able to do that. And we're able to sit there and go, God, I may not see what you're doing here. I may not see what's going on and understand what's going on, but God, I trust you. I trust your plan. And I believe what you're going to do through this is so much powerful than what I see right now. So I'm going to submit to this person. I'm going to submit my power, my plan, just those things, submitting your preference. I love the analogies that Pastor Charles used. He used a submarine. You don't see submarines. When a submarine is out doing its thing, you don't see it. You don't see it moving above the water. But when it's in action, when it's going, you see it under. If you have to go under the surface. You have to go under the scene to be able to see it. And I think that's what I just want to challenge us with that. Be willing to be a submarine. Be willing to go where no one's going to see and work where no one's going to see what you're doing until you come above surface and see that you've made it. He also used the analogy of a seed, and I love it. The seed is our plans, and if we just set a seed on the surface and go, okay, this is my plan, I'm going to do it, this is what I'm going to do. If we just leave it there on the surface, it's not going to do anything. A seed doesn't produce until it goes under and is not seen anymore and is in the ground. And that's why I want to challenge you guys. Be willing to work in the unseen. Be working and do what you're doing where you can't. People may not be seeing it and glorifying you and praising you for it now, but just know that one day it's going to come. One day that fruit's going to come. I want to encourage you guys with this. It may seem bleak. It may seem dark right now. It may seem like what I've been doing for years and years and years has not been working. Nothing's happening. Or maybe even you're just starting something, you want it to happen right now, but you're like, this isn't happening. Trust the process. Trust the process. Submit your plans to God. Submit to those above you. And you know what? Even those that are in charge of people, I want to challenge you even with what they talked about on that panel, submitting to even those below you and realizing that if you're going to be a true leader, you can't just go and say, do this, do this, do this. Give them an option. That's the best way to submit. Say, hey, I really believe that you should be doing this and going this way. And if they want to go that opposite way, still believe in them, still trust them. Just know that that even as a leader, we need to be submissive to those below us and not be harsh, but be loving, be kind. And this is what I want you guys to do. Trust the process. I'm going to leave you with this quote that I remember. I love. Best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Second best time to plant a tree is now. So the saying is, best time to start something that's going to grow was years ago. But you know what? We can't do anything about that now. But what we can do is start it now and let it grow. Trust the process. And I seriously cannot thank Transformation Church enough for putting on this conference. And the Holy Spirit moved. Man, the Holy Spirit moved in that. I'm excited to see what's going to come of this, hear stories, but I love you all. And just remember, trust the process. And that's what we've got this week. Just trust the process, and just thank you all for listening, tuning in. I hope this inspired you. I hope this helped you and just encouraged you and got you jazzed and pumped. My hope is just through sharing this that the Spirit's moving, and the stories that happened at Version 1 conference, and that this message and this episode is able to impact even just one person. But that's it for this week's episode of the Monday Motivation Podcast with Keegan Jewell. Again, where we are coming together to reach our full potential one Monday at a time.